Good morning, and welcome to another Seize the Day. Today's Wednesday, November the 27th, day before Thanksgiving. Trust you guys are well on your way. Got up early this morning and made this brine with some salt and brown sugar, lemons, oranges, sage, thyme, and about 2 gallons of water, and squeezed all that stuff in there, dissolved it all, and then getting ready to dump my turkey in there later on today. And so I had an early start, but looking forward to it. It's an old Emerald Lagasse recipe that he had gotten. Makes the turkey so moist. So it's that was good. It's amazing what a little cup of sugar and brown sugar and oranges and lemons will do, but it comes out pretty tasty. So looking forward to having family here. My dad gave me a call last night, drove up from Florida. He arrived at Worcester. That's what he said. I said, yeah, Dad, they can tell you're not from around here. Like, it's got to be Worcester. All right. So he drove up, 97 years old, in his new little caddy. So like, he's amazing. So we'll see him when he gets here. And so we're looking forward to that. A bunch of family. Another Thanksgiving. These days are going by. I trust that you guys are going to have a great day, great week. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock, we have a Thanksgiving service at Bethany Church. And just want to put on your radar, too, if you're anywhere near Bethany on Sunday, December the 8th, about 6 p.m., we're going to have our Christmas concert. We thought we'd do something really early this year to begin the Advent season, and just put everybody with their focus on the real reason for this season. So we invite you to come December the 8th at 6 p.m. You can get on our website at bethanychurch.com, and you'll find all the information that you need there for directions and time and all of that as well. So appreciate this morning that we have to be together. Today is week 9 in our study, Onward under Joshua. And so we're going to be taking a look actually at the book of Joshua and a little bit at the book of Judges, just so that we get a full understanding of where we are in this whole picture of Casket Empty. And there's been a number of really good stories that have already been told in this whole series that we have been in, this whole Casket Empty piece. And so I thought one thing that I'd like to bring to your attention one more time is I'm looking for a map that I want to show you. And in this map, the map is, here we go. I'd like to put this up on the screen for you. Here we go, and I'm going to take this off. All right, this is a little important for you to see, because the red line represents the journey that Moses has taken the Israelites, right, from Egypt all the way down to Mount Sinai, also known as Horeb. This is one of the maps, if you have those Old Testament maps with you. It takes you all the way down to Mount Sinai and then all the way up to Kadesh Barnea. This whole area of the country tells a great deal of Israel's story, doesn't it? God rescues them, delivers them out of Egypt, and then he brings them into this promised land. And then from there, they go up to Kadesh Barnea. And while they're up at Kadesh Barnea, they have a decision to make. Either they're going to go into this land of Canaan, as God has directed them, and there they would not only find life, but they would thrive. The covenant that God makes with them was given to them right on Mount Sinai. And that was part of the 10 Commandments, along with some of the other regulations and decrees that God had given, instructions on building a tabernacle where God would dwell with them. while they were in this journey. Also, it would God gave them, a priesthood, so that there would constantly be this reminder of their dependence upon God, complete with a whole system of sacrifices. And we saw all of this took place during this Sinai period. But now we're coming to the end of the Sinai period, and they would go from Kadesh Barnea, where now it was just a few days, and they're in Canaan. But instead, they rebel against God. And the result is they wind up turning around, and then they spend the next 40 years wandering around this Sinai Peninsula. 40 years when God had opened the door for them to go into this land. You see on the other side here, you find Edom and Moab and Ammon. And you see Moab is right on its borders with the Dead Sea. And the Dead Sea, right there, you'll find the towns of Jericho and Jerusalem, and they are at the top end of the Dead Sea. Well, the story then continues for us, right, where they leave Kadesh Barnea, and now they go all the way up to on the east side of the Jordan. They go all the way up, and they fight battles with Moab and the Ammonites, and then they settle back down here near Mount Nebo, and that was where Baal Peor was, and there was that rebellion that took place there, costing the lives of thousands. But now this is the second generation of the Israelites, and they're about to enter into this promised land. And while they're there, Moses gives them his decrees, and he begins to tell them what it is that God is expecting of them. And so that's a good overall picture for us to understand where we are in this history right now. And so as they are gathered together on that side, we read in Deuteronomy 4 that God says, listen, I have plans for you here. And these plans, now God begins to detail a little bit more for us in your Old Testament books of Joshua and the books of Judges. Because in these books, what we're going to find is that the Israelites are going to be moving on up into the promised land under Joshua's leadership. And that's how we end this section of the Sinai, experience. And so what I'd like to do, we ended a little bit of our discussion yesterday with Moses addressing this group in that area of Moab. And then we turn the chapter, and if you would, look in the book of Joshua in chapter 1. In Joshua chapter 1, it reads this way. It says, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I'm about to give to them, to the Israelites. I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. God just didn't promise that land to Moses. God had promised that land to their forefathers, beginning with Abraham, and then his son Isaac, and then Jacob. And now this promise through Moses is being reiterated for this entire nation. God is the one who is superintending this whole process and is going to bring them into this land. And his desire is to bring restoration again back between a fallen humanity and the God who created us in his image. Now, imagine being Joshua. He has just spent the last 40 years of his life traipsing up and down that desert. And if you remember the story, going all the way back to Numbers, chapter, 14, In Numbers chapter 14, we read about their rebellion, right? Israel's rebellion. They're not going to go in. But if you remember that story, the 12 spies that went into the land, two of those spies were Joshua and Caleb. And Joshua and Caleb, they disagreed with the majority opinion. They said, listen, we're going to go. We can go. God said that he would go with us. Even though they are more numerous than us, and even though they're stronger than us, God made a promise. And so let's go. And what did they do? They turned around and they were like, yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, we're not really feeling it today. And the result of that was they would spend the rest of their lives traipsing around this desert until every one of that generation passed away. Except, as we read in scriptures yesterday, it says, except for Joshua and Caleb, they were the ones that remained. And now, can you imagine Joshua having just lived this experience? How does your heart not get bitter? How do you? This is just a practical matter, right? Like, so here is Joshua, and the only reason why he didn't go into the land is because they outvoted him, and now because of them, he has had to live those 40 years traipsing around all this desert. You could see how somebody could easily become bitter. My life would be so much different if it wasn't because of you, if it wasn't because of your decisions. But this is a shallow way of sometimes looking at the experiences that we have in this life, because who is in all, who ultimately is in control? Isn't it God? I mean, he orders our steps. He causes the sun to rise and set every day. I mean, God is in control here. So did you think that maybe there was another reason why Joshua had to come alongside of Moses? So now that's another little bit of a challenge, right? Because now Joshua comes alongside Moses all those 40 years. He's an integral part to Moses's leadership. And he finds he has a front row seat to all those miracles. Just do a search of Joshua in the book of Exodus, and you'll realize, man, he was there when Moses was up on the mountain those 40 days and 40 nights with the Lord. Moses was there when they were getting ready to cross that Red Sea. Joshua was there outside the tent of meeting when Moses would go in and meet with God, and the cloud would come and settle on that tent. Yeah, Joshua was such an integral part. How much do you think he learned from Moses? How much did he learn about God? Watching how God interacted with Moses. And all those experiences now are going to come to a head because now God has tapped Joshua on the shoulders and says, okay, Joshua, now it's your turn. Moses is dead. And now you are going to, now you and all these people, I want you to get ready to cross the river into the land I am about to give to them. And then he tells Joshua, every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses, I'm going to give to you. Joshua already has had a front row seat to see how God keeps his word. He's already seen God do miraculous things. Did he need any more convincing? Now, think about it though. Moses, it's a pretty hard act to follow. I've turned to this passage numerous times in my ministry. One of those is like when you find yourself in a situation where the person who went before you was awesome, and now you have to follow them. And I remember reading this, and I think, no matter how great Moses was, he wasn't the guy for the future. No matter all the things that God did through Moses, God still chose Joshua for this next phase of his redemptive plan. So it's not so much that Joshua has to fill Moses's shoes. Joshua is called upon to bring his own shoes. And I don't know where you are in your life right now, but You don't have to compare yourself to anybody. Just show up and bring your own shoes. Do what God has asked you to do. You don't have to be the next Moses. You don't have to be the next Joshua. You just got to be you. But a you that is fixing their eyes on the Lord, fixing our eyes on the one who has called us. And so this is the story now. Joshua taking to heart all of those lessons and now moving out with all these people to do what their the parents, that previous generation, should have done. And now they're being asked to do it themselves. And in verse 3, this promise, I'll give you every place where you set your foot. You know what? I'm going to tell you, this is a verse that has also encouraged me so much in ministry, because I think this verse is still applicable to today. I live in a state, right, New Hampshire. About 1.7% of the population goes to any, Bible believing church. 1.7%. Vermont and New Hampshire are tied. It would be easy to make all kinds of excuses why this work is so hard, and the ground. The New Hampshire is known as the granite state, and sometimes you could see how that could easily be applied to the type of people who live here. They can be a little hard. And it gets cold up here, right? So you put that mixture together, cold and hard, man, it could be impenetrable. But not to the Spirit of God, not to those who are filled with the love of Christ, who decide, I am going to go and let this light shine so that men may see my good work and glorify my Father in heaven. Yeah, there's no need to pull back. In fact, have you ever noticed how bright a light shines in the midst of darkness? So I believe this verse. I will give you every place where you set your foot. And I believe that. I think that I'm going to go out and trust God to open doors and lead, and I am not going to worry about those results, because I know God is going to go with me. And you know what, my friends? Right now at Bethany Church, we are experiencing a great season of renewal. We have more people who are coming to Bethany now than we had pre-COVID. And there's a whole slew of young couples with children that have started to come, and they're sharing with their friends, that they have found Bethany Church. It's been awesome. I got my haircut yesterday, sitting there, and a young man listened to this sermon that I preached this last week. Has just been coming just a few weeks, and my whole sermon was a sermon of commitment. And I ended my sermon with words from an African pastor who was martyred for his faith. And he begins. After he was martyred, they went back and they were looking through his belongings, and he had handwritten a covenant between him and God. It was his commitment as a Christian. And he said, I am a part of the fellowship of the unashamed. I have Holy Spirit power. The die has been cast. The decision has been made. I have crossed the line. I am a disciple of Jesus. My past is redeemed, and my future, my past is redeemed. My present makes sense, and my future is secure. I'm finished and done with low living, sight walking, small planning, smooth knees, colorless dreams, tamed visions, mundane talking, cheap living, and dwarfed goals. I no longer need preeminence, prosperity, promotions, positions, plaudits, or popularity. I don't have to be right, tops, first, recognized, praised, regarded, or rewarded. I now live by faith, lean on his presence, walk by patience, live by prayer, and labor by power. My face is set, my gait is fast, my goal is heaven. My road is narrow, my way rough, my companions few, my guide reliable, and my mission is clear. I cannot be bought, compromised, detoured, lured away, turned back, deluded, or delayed. I will not flinch in the face of sacrifice, hesitate in the presence of the adversary, negotiate at the table of the enemy, ponder at the pool of popularity, or meander in the maze of mediocrity. I won't give up, shut up, let up until I have stayed up, stored up, prayed up, preached up for the cause of Christ. I am a disciple of Jesus. I must go till he comes, give till I drop, preach till all know, and work till he stops me. And when he comes back for his own, he'll have no problems recognizing me. My banner will be clear. I still remember to this day the first time I came across that. That was back in the late 90s. I read this in an article in a missions magazine, and I immediately copied that and said, I want to memorize that. I want those to be my words. I will not look back, let up, slow down, back away, or be still. Yeah, because when you believe that God is going to give you every place where you set your foot, the only thing that's getting in the way is us. And I'm not going to be like that first generation that didn't go in. No, I want to go in. And I'm going to trust God to provide all of his wisdom, all of his power, all of his endurance so that the job could be accomplished. It's not about us. It's simply about us trusting that God could be taken at his word. And then all we have to do is sit back and watch how God, in his strength, will do amazing things in our weakness. So is it any wonder then that after he says this, he says, listen, the same way I was with Moses, I'm going to be with you. I'll never leave you or forsake you. Where did you hear those words from? Are those words that we're not going to hear uttered by Jesus, who will say, as the one who is greater than Moses, I will never leave you or forsake you. And the one who is eternal, the one who is immortal, the one who is filled with glory, he makes that promise to you and me. So what can stand against us? That's why he tells them, be strong and courageous. All in Joshua chapter 1, right? Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Don't turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. You catch that? That's the key to success right here. It's not that God is asking you to figure it all out on your own. God is just saying, listen, I want you to follow after me. I want you to learn of me. I want you to put my yoke upon you. And you're going to find rest for your soul. You're going to live. But you have to be careful that you adhere to the word of God. If you do that, then God says, not only will you live, but you will thrive. That's the strong message that we're given here. That's why God is saying to Joshua, listen, be strong and courageous. And he tells them 3 times. He tells them that 3 times in just the opening couple of verses of Joshua chapter 1. He goes on to say, listen, don't let this book of the law depart from your mouth. Meditate on it day and night so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Be strong and courageous. Don't be terrified. Don't be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. My friends, those are words to live by. No, those are words to die by. It gives you a perspective. God is not asking you to do something where he is not going to go before you. He's not asking you to just make this up and then throw God in as part of the equation. No, God is the equation. He says, follow me and I will do this for you. So how did this work out for Joshua? Well, if you turn to the end of Joshua in chapter 24, Joshua's an old man now. All the people have gathered. and they have already gone into the land. All the stories are written for you in Joshua. And then at the end of his life, this is what he does. He addresses all the people that were under his charge. And he tells them this in Joshua chapter 24, verse 14. He says, now fear the Lord and serve him with all faithfulness. Throw away the gods your forefathers worshiped beyond the river and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you'll serve, whether the God your forefathers served beyond the river or the God of the Amorites in whose land you are living. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Israel served the Lord throughout the lifetime of Joshua and of the elders who outlived him and who had experienced everything the Lord had done for Israel. See, the faithfulness on the part of Joshua and those who were placed in charge had a trickle-down effect to the whole nation of Israel. They were blessed because Joshua led with integrity. You and I are being called into this world to live with that kind of integrity. People are counting on it. They may not always acknowledge it, but for this period of time, the people did, and they prospered. You know, in closing, let me turn you to the next book. The next book is the book of Judges. This is the last in this series in our study of Sinai. Notice what it says here. It says, this is in Judges chapter 2 and verse 10. So Judges chapter 2, verse 10, it says, after that whole generation had been gathered to their fathers, another generation grew up, who neither knew the Lord nor what he had done for Israel. Then the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and they served the Baals. They forsook the Lord, the God of their fathers, who had brought them out of Egypt. They followed and worshiped various gods of the peoples around them. They provoked the Lord to anger because they forsook him. His anger against Israel handed them over to the raiders who plundered them. Wherever or whenever Israel went out to fight, the hand of the Lord was against them, just as he had sworn to them, and they were in great distress. See, the whole book of Judges is about people who have decided to live life their own way, and they suffered the consequences of that. So you read Joshua, a book of great victory. You look at Judges, a book of great defeat. And what made the difference? Those who were strong and courageous and who lived out the word that God had given. It was the pathway to living life, a full life. So my friends, think about that. And especially in this Thanksgiving season, it'll give you much to be thankful for. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Tomorrow we have a 10 o'clock service at Bethany Church. You can get on bethanychurch.com and get all that information. And I will not be having a Seize the Day tomorrow and Friday, so you can enjoy with your family and your friends. And we'll see each other, if not on the weekend, then next Monday, where we will begin our Advent series, right, called In the Fullness of Time. We're going to just take a break from our Old Testament studies, and we're going to take a little look at the coming of Jesus. And so I want to thank you so much for these 9 weeks, and trust that God is teaching you and molding you more and more. God bless you, my friends. Go out, seize the day, and never forget that God is good all the time.